And she said, what
Contestant
happened
number
on the
one,
19th
Glenn
of
Woodson.
April,
Glenn Woodson,
1964?
contestant number one.
Ann, thank you very much for your speech today. As a avid bicyclist and not avid runner anymore, it was kind of nice to go back and listen to some of the reasons why I liked running, and then thought about the reasons why I gave up running at the same time. It was nice to, your title was Testimonial, which talks about basically your trip towards what you basically have alluded to, which is your own runner's high that you've received from this and what you've achieved. I mention runner's high because that's the thing I think about when I think of marathons, is that's, you get a runner's high from doing this when you're 26 miles. I think 26 miles and my car goes very good 26.2 miles. When you stood up here, the thing I kind of looked at today was kind of the presentation itself as a whole, and not specifically dealing with the actual speech itself. You're an advanced speaker, you already understand those basic concepts. Going into this, one of the things I liked was that the beginning and the end, you did a great job of actually getting the audience involved. You start out and say, how many of you have run a marathon? I mean, just think for a second. And then you moved into your speech, and then towards the end, you started to get into your emotional side, and about the competing, especially the finish side of it, and you really brought the audience back into it with your humor. That kind of leads to one of the areas where I think from a competitive point of view, you can really emphasize a little bit more as you move through your speeches down the road. And that is actually getting involved and keeping them involved throughout the entire speech. It almost was like the same thing. You run the Big Sur Marathon and you've got the hills up and down as you go through the coast. And you kind of brought the audience through that kind of up and down motion also. And I felt like instead of just bringing us up to a high and building us towards the end. The other big thing on the improvement side isn't an area of improvement. It was just an interesting kind of notice that I looked as I went through the process, and that was during your 7.5 minute speech, or 6.5 minute speech, excuse me, you spent the first 4 minutes talking about the training aspect, focusing on the three things: the goal orientation, fitness, and then the being outdoors and enjoying nature. Then when you got to the race itself, which to me is the reason you got into this wasn't as much the training as the testimonial. I kind of thought about it as the end state, the race. You only spent about 1.5 minutes really focusing on the race. So you got into it. We had the national anthem. I went out there and I ran. Okay, I ran 26 miles. Okay, what happened during 26 miles? Oh, at mile 13, there's the guy with the grand piano sitting on the side of the road in the Big Sur Marathon. Or, I mean, there are all these different events that go on with the event itself. And I think you could really emphasize that to the crowd. It's not just about 26 miles. It's about the entire thing that you see when you're going through the process. But overall, I really enjoyed the speech. What I liked the best, though, was your strong finish. You came into this and you built up to it, and you did leave us with humor. You got the audience involved. We were laughing at the end, and we're thinking, okay, maybe I can go out and do this. Maybe not. But at the end, I'm still thinking, okay, that's something I can consider again, if not for my bicycling that I'm doing all the time. Regardless, what I enjoyed, though, was the entire process. So thank you very much.